Good evening and welcome, everyone. It's very exciting at this moment to have the Employment Non-Discrimination Act on the floor of the U.S. Senate, ready for amendment, ready for debate, and hopefully ready for some final votes later this week. This is a historic moment in the struggle for equal rights. But before I say anything more, I just say this vote tonight, getting onto this bill, is a result of an extensive bipartisan collaboration that began when Senator Collins stood up as the first chief co-sponsor, now several years ago, 2009 and 2010. She handed the baton on to Senator Kirk, but she never left the field. She's had so many conversations with so many people, as has Senator Kirk, in order to explore having this conversation on the floor of the Senate for the first time in 17 years. I'll have some more comments to say, but first I want to turn this podium over to her for her reflections. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you. First, let me thank Senator Merkley for his leadership on this issue. And I also want to pay special tribute to Senator Mark Kirk, who could not be here this evening. He told me this was his first extensive floor speech since his stroke, and it was because he felt so strongly about this issue. It is far past time that we end discrimination in the workplace against LGBT individuals. Surely in America today, people should be judged on their qualifications and their hard work, and not on their sexual orientation. That is exactly what this bill would do. And I am thrilled that we crossed the 60-vote threshold. There are 2 additional votes for the bill. Senator McCaskill and Senator Murkowski are both on airplanes and could not get here before the vote was closed. So we know that we have 2 additional votes. Finally, I also want to pay tribute to Senator Tom Harkin. He has been a champion of civil rights laws for his entire career in the Senate, and I know he'd love to see this one become law as well. And one of our newest members who's been such an outstanding advocate, Senator Baldwin. This truly has been a bipartisan effort, and I hope that this year finally will be the year that we close this loophole in our federal law, and so that people will no longer face discrimination based on sexual orientation when they are in the workplace. We've worked over the years to protect people from discrimination based on religion, age, disability, race, religious affiliation, gender. Surely it is time that we add sexual orientation to that list. Thank you.
My involvement in this issue began long before I came to the U.S. Senate, when the state of Oregon wrestled with issues of non-discrimination when I was Speaker back in 2007. And then shortly after arriving in 2009, Senator Kennedy and his team were seeking to pass the torch on key bills and asked me to carry the torch of leadership on this bill because of my work in Oregon. It was a huge honor, and I hope that Senator Kennedy will be very pleased with the work that we've begun tonight, and I hope he'll be pleased by the end of the week with the Senate's thoughtful deliberation on the issues of equality and fairness and opportunity that are so deeply embedded in our Constitution and in our national ethos. And indeed, the full potential of the United States will not be realized until every individual has the opportunity to experience their full potential without the blockades imposed by discrimination. So we've taken a strong step tonight in that direction. And one individual who has been working on this issue so much longer than all of us here is Senator Harkin, who chairs the committee, who saw the committee through 2 hearings and then through a markup to prepare this stage for being on the floor tonight. So Thank you, Senator Harkin, for your lifelong advocacy against discrimination and the extensive work that you've done to prepare the ground for the conversation we're having this week.
Oh, thank you, Jeff, very much, buddy. Well, I think once again the Senate has shown that we can really do big things for the American people when we're willing to work across party lines in a spirit of goodwill. And that's what this bill is. That's what's happened. With the leadership of Senator Merkley, who has really been the driving force behind this, and Senator Mark Kirk, the two of them together, with Susan Collins, Senator Collins on board, helping us out, we just knew we could get it done. This is a big vote. I was very proud of our committee. Well, now he used to be on it. I'm still mad at him for leaving our committee. But when he was on it, Jeff, of course, was the one pushing this to get it up. I'm sorry he left our committee this year, wasn't there for our vote in July. But when our committee passed out in July, it became the first time that any congressional committee had ever passed out a civil rights bill dealing with sexual orientation or gender identity. And I was very proud that that was a bipartisan vote. It was a really strong bipartisan vote, 15-7, if I'm not mistaken. And now we got it on the floor. I think we have broad support of the American people to get this done. I said today that I wasn't here in 1964 for the Civil Rights Bill, so I wasn't able to feel that excitement. I was here in 1990 for the Americans with Disabilities Act, and to see again the expansion of civil rights to encompass all Americans. And then I was here in 1996 when this was brought on the floor. Andrew, we failed by one vote, 50-49. And Senator Kennedy, God rest him, had tried time and time and time again, and I was just a low-ranking member of the committee at that time, to get this bill back up, and it just never quite made it. But sometimes it was just a right time and a right place to get the right people. And the right people in this case were Senator Merkley, Senator Mark Kirk, Senator Collins, and I want to mention Senator Baldwin, who's a new member of our committee, who came on and worked so hard to make sure that we teed this up and got it through the committee. This is the way the Senate ought to work. Do our committee work, get it on the floor, and do it in a good bipartisan manner. So again, I'm just so grateful to all my friends here. This is long overdue. I'm confident we're going to have a good debate on this. I'm confident we're going to have a good vote to finally pass it. And then hopefully the House will be able to get a discharge petition signed and hopefully give a good Christmas present to the American people by getting this bill finally to the President's desk. So again, I thank you, Jeff. I thank you, Susan, very much for all your wonderful work on this. And Tammy Baldwin, thank you for being a great member of our committee. It's a great day for America, I can tell you that.
Our momentum was greatly increased by having Senator Baldwin bring her experience over from the House and bring her personal life experience to this conversation as well. And she jumped in to hold many one-on-one conversations to extend the dialogue about how important fairness is. How can you have pursuit of happiness in this nation if you don't have a chance to gain a job or to stay in a job without discrimination? Thank you, Senator Baldwin, for bringing your expertise and story to this conversation and helping us get to tonight.
Well, I couldn't be more honored or thrilled to be working with such inspiring leaders. Jeff Merkley, Susan Collins, Mark Kirk, and our chairman, Chairman Harkin. Chairman Harkin, I didn't tell you this story before, but based on some of my previous battles on the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, I came to our markup prepared for battle, prepared to be there for hours and hours on end. And I just want to state how far we've come because of so many people's hard work, that on a bipartisan basis, I think we passed it out of committee in about 5 minutes. It was amazing. And I really do think that that tells us how far we are coming as a nation. I also think that more and more people have recognized that the Employment Non-Discrimination Act is about freedom and fairness and opportunity, some of the most fundamental values that we celebrate as a nation. And this bill is bipartisan, and it strengthens that freedom by recognizing the right to be judged in the workplace by your skills, your loyalty, your character, your integrity, your work ethic, and not by factors that are irrelevant in the workplace, who you are and who you love. We've also seen the private sector adopt policies similar to ENDA in incredible numbers because they are focused on workplace competitiveness. And I think in many ways, you see in the Fortune 500 companies, they're ahead of the federal government. And we should look at that and understand that this is also about our competitiveness as a nation. This vote this evening was a huge step forward, and I expect in the days that follow as we debate this that the tone that's been set in committee and on the floor will remain. But I can tell you this will be a moment that I will reflect on for years and years to come in my tenure in the U.S. Senate.
Thanks very much. Great. I gotta go see.
Senator Kirk wasn't able to be with us here at this moment, but he has been deeply engaged in this. Each time I've been running into him in the hall or deliberately getting together to talk about this issue, he has been so determined that we would have the outcome that we had tonight. And so I want to again thank him, although he can't be here. I think it's down to the two of us. If anyone does have any, step on up, Tammy, and yes.
It appeared that there was some intense lobbying going on in the final minutes there to help secure the 60 votes. Can you talk about what changes or amendments might be sought, or what are going to be sought to secure those extra votes?
Yes, Senator Portman and Senator Ayotte, and they may well be joined by others, will be putting forth an amendment. We're making sure that they have the full opportunity to present that. It's an amendment I will be supporting, and I think it's a reasonable adjustment of figuring out just what you want the statement of purpose to say. Make sure it's fully inclusive of the various goals embedded in the bill. And it has an additional piece basically related to non-retaliation and making sure that the vision of this bill, which is organizations that are within the Section 7 Civil Rights Act exemption, are in fact within that exemption.
Is there anything, how are you gauging your chances of what the House is going to do? Because right now it's not clear that it would even get called.
Well, we have an expert on the House. I've never served there. So do you want to take a shot at that?
Well, obviously there's several ways to approach a very challenging situation with the House of Representatives as currently composed. My sense, first of all, is if ENDA were to be put before the House of Representatives for a vote, it would pass. I base that on the numbers of Republicans who in the past have signed on to the bill, have supported the bill. Now, some of those people have changed. They're no longer serving in the House, but some of them still remain. And I just think if it got an up or down vote, it would pass. So then the question is, how do you get it to the floor to receive that up or down vote? The question of a discharge petition was raised. That's certainly a process by which you can bring something before the House. They look for opportunities to offer germane amendments. And then the question is, could it also come in to House consideration in a package sent over by the Senate? All possibilities. There's certainly others, but those are the main vehicles, and we ought to push to have one of those be the way it gets before the body.
I'll simply add that should we be successful this week, that would be a huge factor in enhancing the conversation in the House. At this moment, it's a theoretical conversation, and I don't think the House is likely to take this up unless they feel like there is now a pathway for enactment And once the Senate has acted, if we act successfully this week, there is such a pathway, and I think the conversation will intensify in the House.
Senator, what about the amendment that Senator Toomey wants with the broadening the number of groups that are covered under the exemption? Is that something that you think will get eventually attached to the legislation?
So my understanding is that Senator Toomey has an amendment that he feels will be germane and that he would like to be able to have a vote on it, understanding it would be a 60-vote threshold, and that conversation has taken place with the leadership on the Democratic side, and they're going to work out an agreement to try to make sure that amendment gets that opportunity.
So that's what
I'm
was
sorry,
going
do
on
you
in the
back
vote.
that amendment?
I have not seen that amendment, and so I can't respond whether I'll back it or not. I don't believe it's actually written yet, is my understanding.
Do you think this vote gives the White House greater room to sign an executive order, or for us to sign an executive order barring LGBT discrimination for federal contractors?
So, I mean, the president has said in the past, and I don't want to speak for him, but obviously he's made some statements that Congress really needs to tackle this. And obviously that's what we're doing by bringing this up. There's no substitute for a law that will remain in place when one president leaves and another one comes to office. So I think, this has kept the pressure up on us. Obviously, if it were to pass into law, the need for it would disappear in terms of the executive order.
Do you think that this is inevitable?
I think back to Martin Luther King's commentary that the great arc of the universe bends towards justice. And I feel that our notion of fairness about employment and how central that is to pursuit of happiness, how central it is to equality, how central it is simply to the golden rule that people should be treated as we would want to be treated, means that we will accomplish this. But I do hope it's sooner rather than later.
I have always understood the passion among advocates, and of course I am one myself, an advocate of this, and we wanted this yesterday. Rights are sometimes intangible, but boy, if you've ever been discriminated against, seeking employment or seeking an advancement, it's bitter. And it's been a long, long fight, but I think its day has come. And that's just very exciting to witness and be a part of.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. Thank you.
My house will be taken out of it.
Thank you.
Who was this? Ready. Well done. Have to do something today, John. Take care of it.
I sent her an email today. Said, hey, it looks like you're working together. Yay, I'm so happy. I said, oh, I said, okay. I said, dinner is me this time. I wrote dinner is me. So I just,
Oopsie.
I said, okay, I just read what I wrote, and dinner is on me tomorrow, not dinner is me.
Yeah, what are you implying?
Yeah, right.
Jeez. You gotta take her, you can either go to Clyde, Morton, or Palm.
No, that's just,
They're all right there.
I'll buy a sub.
They're all right there.
I thought you were going to Rich Chris.
I'll buy a burger. people
like,
when they got busted a couple of
the
months
climax of
ago
the film,
locally.
you know, when the two priests
Guns,
leave the room
yeah,
for a
yes,
while.
yeah,
and
that guy,
later,
yeah.
There's
So
a
he
dialogue
comes in,
between them
he's-
about
he
what the
gets-
meaning of the
They said they're not,
Well,
he
it's,
said that they were.
and that's like not in the
He
original at all.
can't get away from the light.
But only
I mean, they
needs
filmed
one
it at
vote,
the
so-
time, they just didn't include it.
Like, these
And
people
then,
would rather-
in all the previous versions that
Yes.
came out, the first time you see the doctor, you know how they exhausted, you saw the film, of
Yeah.
course. You know how they exhausted all the medical
Chris Rock had a great line. He
possibilities
said-
first.
Uh,
Well, the first time you see the doctor, he comes out of the door and he says, it's something in the frontal lobe. He's saying to the mother, try to explain. But that's actually the second time. The first time, she goes to the doctor and they start taking her blood. And she's already demonstrating like
Mike Tyson broke.
symptoms.
You know he made
And
it
it just
just,
cuts
Mike
really
Tyson,
fast
$100 million boxing.
to that face.
it's 100 million, not like
That
that.
demonic face, you know?
$100
It's like
million.
so fast, you almost don't even see it.
Bentleys and.
And the house is
Yeah,
big, it's
and,
just shit, you know, but the other thing.
And she's like says super nasty looking videos to the doctor.
Any other
Just
change?
how, oh my God, this is like a little girl, like 10 minutes ago, she wanted a horse for her birthday.
It's a very busy day.
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's just,
she's
it's
telling the
crazy.
doctor
But I
to
mean,
give
you know,
her
a lot of these
her
athletes, they always get taken for a ride by the investor. The guy that's got the Canfield investment, and it's like.
But it's just seeing something in any
If you
movie
have
that you
$1,000
see in
you invested
theater,
in this, you don't
it's
get
just a
that. But
way
because you
better
got
experience.
$100 million.
I mean, there's just
$10
no
million.
comparison.
I could do
And
that
only,
tomorrow.
Now, did you see that thing that?
I mean, I was hearing things, I've seen that movie so many times, I was hearing stuff that I'd
Yeah,
never heard.
even Mark Brunell went broke. Vinny Testaverde went broke because of bad investments. You know?
Theater was surprisingly empty. I was kind of shocked.
Hey, how you doing? Hello?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I know. How you doing?
It don't make enough for it. But you got a couple $100 million or, you know, whatever.
Did you see
Oh,
Jim's
what?
project on The
That's
Exorcist?
2% on 5 mil.
So you can see all the sights, right?
Okay.
Okay, well, he did this incredible, I mean, people always say how great he is, but I mean, this was like a really awesome,
Gives a flying fuck about what he's fucking.
because he spent a really long time researching the origin of that story. And,
Hey,
he actually tracked down the
let me
like
go.
decade
I'm still on the hill.
boy that is, that it's based on.
Right.
It's not even public knowledge.
Professional football is.
And he didn't obviously publish it because he didn't think it was the right thing to do. And after EPA put that thing out, the Post saw it. They asked him to do a portrait of Blatty, the author. He got to meet him and talk about the real identity of the actual boy. And Blatty was,
Doesn't mean they are.
floored.
They should be.
Yeah, he was trying to quiz Jim. He's like, what's his name?
Oh, we didn't know.
Oh, yeah, Platty knew. He didn't think Jim knew.
William Peter Blatty?
Yeah, he didn't think Jim knew the name of the real name of the boy, and Jim told him. He was just like, oh my God, don't publish your name. Don't publish your name. Because like they really thought they were gonna get sued when The Exorcist came out. But he's from PG County.
It's just
The
like.
kid, yeah, it happened in the late 40s. Like, well, that story that's based on. Well, I don't know, but it happened in St. Louis actually. The boy from PG County, and it happened over like a month. The exorcism performed over a month in a suburb of St. Louis. 8 or 9 Jesuits from St. Louis University, which is a Jesuit school. And so he went there, he photographed the house where they actually performed the exorcism of this Maryland kid. And none of this stuff is public knowledge. Yeah, and Jim totally tracked it all down. So it's pretty badass, really. I mean, whether, you know, it's total fiction or not, it's totally fascinating. He went into St. Elizabeth's, where Hinckley Jr., the guy who tried to shoot Reagan, or the guy that shot Reagan.
He's still there?
Yeah, well, most of St. Elizabeth's is kind of been
security has a lot of it now.
Yeah, so he actually did work in there and photographed an autopsy theater, like from the 40s, that's just like sitting there, it's like, it's creepy as hell. Yeah, that's one of the pictures, and that's a,
Where can you see the essay? Does he have like the full thing on?
well, if you go to epa.eu, you definitely be able to find it, but, it's just, it's really interesting, you know. And he used some like, some weird like filter on every photo. That's why they wanted him to shoot the portrait of Platty, because they wanted him to use the same camera, like the same method, and then just include it in the package. It's like some cheapo, like, I don't, some filter on the front of the lens, you put on the camera, and it makes everything, like not sharp except for the center.
Like a lens, maybe?
I guess, I don't know what it's called, but.
Doesn't he use the tilt shifts?
Yeah, but he has in the past, but not for this, he didn't use, yeah. Yeah. He went to St. Louis, he did, St. Elizabeth, and then took a frame at Dahlgren's Chapel.
The other day, and
They got rooms
Of course,
here
the
we can
stairs,
use too,
you
by the
know.
way. For future reference, if you're around here for a few years.
big rifle, you know, and so.
So did it pass?
Yes.
Thank you.
Not like a yo.
Send us pictures now.
Anyway, so I don't get that, I don't get, you know, it doesn't like equate at all.
The world's waiting to find out what the result of the cloture vote was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both either Beta, Graz, or Frankfurt.
Belichick a couple of times and said,
I'm not shooting this for Germany, but obviously I'm shooting for US.
you know, Vinny Testaverde, I think Testaverde, Vinny Serrato, Baltimore. I used to think he was
Yeah.
he's very smart. And he's definitely.
Those are really not the kind of projects that actually that
He knows the need.
Jimmy told me he doesn't try to do those kinds of projects because, well, they have to go to several places. That was the problem with like the Civil War, what they did do was,
He knew all the shit.
it's much better to do something that
Belichick's like,
you can photograph in a short period of time. Just for, you know, logistical reasons.
well, if
That doesn't make it any less.
it's not even a
than,
reason
you
why
know,
because
If you could photograph something in 4 days at some location, it's better than having to like go to like
they don't know him
4
anymore.
different parts of the country
You know?
over the period of a year.
So.
I kinda like doing that.
What do they have to lose?
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, my company's not gonna wait for the
Yeah,
paper,
that's the
so
thing.
it's like,
I'm becoming of or whatever.
Yeah, but-
like,
You
that's
know,
not
every
work
single
man,
contract has a
for
clause in
myself.
there, if you
I
are
can't afford
arrested
that
or.
For the felony.
Yeah, if you are thrown out of the league on murder charges, then that probably is gonna void your
And one thing I learned is like,
You know, I mean,
with a few exceptions, people don't really care about it.
unless his agent has a.
No matter how cool the pictures are, if they were really cool or
Yeah.
not,
Right.
they don't give a shit about it. Like, I guess you could say that about almost anything.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we're different, you like it.
Heads up.
I'm loving those bullets and awesome.
Good evening and welcome, everyone. It's very exciting at this moment to have the Employment Non-Discrimination Act on the floor of the U.S. Senate, ready for amendment, ready for debate, and hopefully ready for some final votes later this week. This is a historic moment in the struggle for equal rights. But before I say anything more, I just say this vote tonight, getting onto this bill, is a result of an extensive bipartisan collaboration that began when Senator Collins stood up as the first chief co-sponsor